Come in. All right, everybody, come on in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Wives Club. I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher. I always like to say you may know me for my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content, but what you might not know about me is in 2021, I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. Hello, Irving. Thank you so much for being here. But it wasn't for me. I always like to say I am happily average, and I mean that. So I wasn't asking for a rating, but I was asking for a way to help and to give back, because I always used to get convicted whenever he would say, "Where are the older women to teach the young?" And I just crossed over to 50, so I'm a golden girl now. But even before now, it would just break my heart when women were having such a hard time in relationships. So in that session, I asked if I could create a community within his Patreon. And he gave us his blessing. Hello, Next Level. Thank you for being here. He gave us his blessing. And what we would do is once a week, we would get together privately in the Patreon after his shows. And we would react to his content from our own lived experience as current wives, former wives, and future wives. And I want to continue that even though he's no longer with us. I think his legacy and his message still lives on. Kevin actually came up with the name, the Wives Club, so it's very special to me. And I know we have women that are prioritizing marriage and family, even more importantly in their prime years, and they're quiet. But I just want to offer my perspective as a reformed modern woman, a divorcee, boy mom, but now in a long term going on 15 years. I was married for 10 years, and I learned the hard way that modern women aren't built for the long haul, all right? So we're going to get in here. I've got my notes, and if you see me looking down at my phone, I am going to be reacting to the episode that Kevin's channel put out Friday night, and as always, a very striking title. This one is called, "Are You in the Position You Thought You Would Be In This Winter?" And you all know Kevin would always say winter is coming. That's a play on Game of Thrones, but it's that time of year. The holidays are upon us. If you celebrate, it's the end of the calendar year. A lot of people look back at the year behind us. A lot of people look forward at the year coming up. And we want to be able to do that with a smile on our face. But the truth is, unfortunately, some of us are not in the position that we thought we would be in. So maybe I can help a little bit with that. All right. Shout out to El Presidente. Yes, he is amazing. He is amazing. He definitely let me know what was expected, and I chose to get on the program, and I am happier than I have ever been. Next Level says, "Winter is here. Rest in peace to the Godfather." Yes, the legacy lives on as long as there's breath in my lungs. Yes, NY, this is definitely live. I come to you all once a month, usually after Kevin's channel runs the stream. So I'm going to take my time tonight. This one was about a 2+ hour live stream, so I have lots of notes that I'm going to go through here and then just kind of give you all my perspective if it's helpful. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so in the beginning was the word. In the beginning of this episode, Kevin was talking about himself as a child and his lack of social skills, being an only child. We have 2 boys. I come from a family with 2 children. My ex-husband comes from a family of 2 children. And my heart in all of this is I really worry about the community. You all hear me say it's going to get worse before it gets better. But what that means for the family unit, it's not looking good. And I want to do my part. I want to go on record at least trying as long as I can. I am slowing down to help. So we believe in families over here. Condemned is here saying 2030 is not that far off, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare yourselves, yes. And 2030, is that the year that Lucy was always talking about, the statistic of 45% of women are going to be single and childless? Yeah, that's going to be here that quickly. Okay, so Kevin was talking about himself as an only child, saying that he did not have the social skills that were needed to be successful. And I'm a huge advocate of soft skills. You all know Lucy and I have the finishing school. We're doing our last session upcoming. You can go to my website if you're interested. But it really is important. Those skills are going to stay with you no matter what age you are. And that's really what's going to help you build any type of relationship, family relationship, work relationship. But here we're talking about romantic or love relationships. All right. So we are very good, ladies, especially us modern women. We're very good about the hard skills. We're very good about going to college, getting the degree, opening up a business, getting a certification, all that stuff. I'm a PhD. We can't wait to brag on all the papers that we have on the wall. However, the truth is the soft skills that are needed in life, the soft skills that have kept us alive and thriving as a community for hundreds, for thousands of years, unfortunately, that's been the trade-off. And it's not a good thing, because that paycheck or that promotion is not going to keep you warm at night, if that's something that you are interested in. Oh, thank you so much for liking the live stream. I'm just here until I'm not. All right. So if you want to like the stream, that's fine. I appreciate it. But I am not trying to build an empire. But if you do think this is helpful, feel free to share it out. The internet is forever. All right. And thank you so much. Okay. So yes, winter is coming. Lost in translation on TikTok. You're absolutely right. Winter is here for some of us. Okay. So we want to talk about those soft skills, ladies. So Kevin asked a question in this episode. He said, why are you alone? And ladies, ask yourself, you don't have to tell anybody, you don't have to tell me, but if you're alone and don't want to be, ask yourself why. And answer yourself. And Kevin said in this episode, is it because you need better relationship skills? So what I always teach the ladies is that being in a relationship is a skill set, especially for the long term, which means if you're not good at it, yes, you're lacking in that area, but a skill like anything else can be learned, can be perfected with practice. You're not just going to wake up like this and be good working with a man. If you think that just casually dating is going to prepare you for wifehood one day, you are wrong. You will be alone. So if you don't want to be alone when you're my age, start prioritizing real relationships now and cut the foolishness. All right. So Kevin also said in this episode, he did a simple Google search on femininity. And there is a plethora of femininity content, especially on the internet. You all know I make food and femininity content. Thank you, Neo Moses. You love the lies. He says you're like the honest mom most of us need as men and women. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That's a compliment for me. That is my highest honor. You all know our oldest, Marcus. I don't know if it's showing back there. No, he is a Marine now. So I'm very, very proud. Boy mom, Marine mom. Okay. But thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah. Irving says relationship skills come with consistency. So Kevin was saying in this episode that you can search and you can find all kind of femininity content, and it's not a bad thing. I love femininity training. I've taken femininity training. I needed to soften some of those rough edges, and now I teach the ladies from what I've learned. However, Kevin said the gap here is that femininity training alone does not translate into relationship skills. There is a difference. A lot of women think if I can just, my man calls it playing dress up. If I can just put on the clothes, style my hair, lower my voice, do all of those things that are feminine, then I'm going to be good in relationships. And unfortunately, a lot of women still find themselves single, even though they may have invested in femininity training. Femininity training is not going to help you get and keep the masculine man of your dreams. All right. It goes back to those real relationship skills. All right. So Kevin said that relationship skills come from men. Funnily enough, ladies, and I love men. I am biased. A lot of men in my family. I'm a boy mom, so yes, I am partial. But I love listening to men and observing them. But ladies, especially those of you all who don't have a lot of experience, real experience working with a man. Those of you all who maybe don't have a father figure, you don't have brothers, uncles, nephews, you're just surrounded by women. That's not helping you understand what men expect in relationship, because those relationship skills come from men. So we have to be able to study the men that we want to be with to understand what their expectations are. Kevin said in this episode that men are the ones that are buying you. And if that makes you offended, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. But if we think of this as a consumer marketplace, men are the ones that are buying us. They are the customer. We are the product. All right. When you ask a man to sign on the dotted line and give you his name, give you his banner, give you his ring, give you his covering, give you his protection, give you his resources, he is investing in you. He is buying you. All right. So we need to think about it that way and ask ourselves, are we a product that is going to be easily and quickly sold and maintained, or are we just going to sit on the shelves and get dusty? All right. Oh, thank you, Irving. You all are too kind. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, New York Twin. I appreciate you all. Okay. So let me get my little fan out here. Y'all already know. Okay. So Kevin said, with all of this femininity training, all of this studying that you all are doing, all these videos that you are watching, all this dress up, and all these women that are giving you femininity training, where are the relationships? And where are the marriages? And that is a very important question, ladies. We just can't be the blind leading the blind in any area. We're talking about relationships right now, but I would advise you and I would implore you, do not take financial advice from someone who can't manage their money. Do not take fitness advice from somebody who struggles in that area. Likewise, do not take relationship advice from someone who, as far as the East is from the West, you haven't seen them in a long, sustainable relationship. Now, if you just want to be out there and hot girl summer, fine. You can listen to those women that are going to tell you how to have a rotation and get the bag and use men for resources and all the foolishness that women do. But when the clock strikes midnight and it's winter, and now you're looking for someone to really care for you as you age, care for you as you lose your job, lose your parents, as your kids go through whatever, you are going to have to get in the back of the line because you have not developed those relationship skills. All right. Next level says, we sign up to die for the women we choose. And what are we getting for that sacrifice? It's a wonderful question, and it's heartbreaking if we don't have an answer. I say we leave that man alone to find a woman who is prepared for him. Thank you for the hand claps, Bria. Right? Irving says, yes, a man is giving you his commitment. And that's not lightly, ladies, because today men have a lot of options. And so, again, ladies, if you have a man who is serious about you, you need to take him seriously the first time. Do not be one of these women that have the pain of regret forever and ever. Amen. All right. Bria says Beyonce had a single ladies movement and was secretly married. I was messaging someone else about that. How many of these women are telling you to go out there and be great and be independent? And they're doing that from the comfort of their happy home with their husband. Be very careful, ladies. Yep. Men have a lot of options. Don't we know it? And they deserve it. You know, when a man has done the work to build himself, I say absolutely. I would never hamstring a man to wait on us to get it together. You've heard me say it before. We need to be ready when they're ready. Okay. Let's continue on. So, where are the relationships and the marriages? So, ladies, start looking objectively. That's something you can do. I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions, but start auditing the content that you consume and ask yourself. This is what I do. Before I listen to anybody, I ask myself, would I trade places with this person? Do I want the life that they have? Can I learn anything from them? Or am I feeling like my time is wasted? And then act accordingly. All right. So, What is the end goal? What is the outcome? If you're taking these femininity classes, what is your goal? When we teach the finishing school, we're going to start in January. Those of you all that have registered should have your calendar invites. I always start the sessions by asking the ladies, what are your goals? What do you want to get out of this class? All right. Why are you here? So that I can customize the lesson. Yes, we have our curriculum, but I want to make sure the ladies are actually being helped by what we teach and we know what their goals are. Yeah, Bria said I had to audit my content back in my late 20s. I consistently do that, ladies. There's nothing wrong with subscribing or unsubscribing or taking a break from something that is not getting you the outcome that you want. You have them? Okay, Bria. I'm so excited. Okay, wonderful. So, what is the end goal? What is the outcome? We can't just be walking through life like, I don't know how I got here. You will look up and 5 years will be gone just like that. And you will not get that time back. And I'm telling you, as an older woman now, there is nothing I would trade for the feeling that I have right now as the kids are up and out and my parents are getting older and I'm settling into the second half. And I want this feeling for all of you, but I'm able to reap the benefits of the seeds that I sowed when I was 20, 25, 30. One of my biggest sponsors told me, and it's hard to say, but he said, all of us are going to live out the life that we started in our 20s, whatever that was. All right, so be very careful with your prime years, right? Irving says one saying is either you got it or you don't. Either you have a willing ear or you don't. Your work is your work. I hear you. All right. So again, we have established women can't teach you what men want. And I agree with this. I would not be in a position to teach anybody anything if I hadn't gone through it myself. You all hear me talk about Mr. President a lot because the adjustments that I have made, if I want a man of a certain caliber, I have to act accordingly. I can't just be out here doing whatever I want to do, going from failed relationship to failed relationship and just thinking because I got an internet connection and a laptop, I can talk to other people. That would be, like we said, I think Condemn said, one of these women now will lead you into a burning building. So be very careful, ladies. It's very important. And that's just how it's always been. Older women taught the young from their lived experience. Older men taught the young from their lived experience, all right? Bria says you agree. You listen to lots of women in your 20s and realize in your 30s it wasn't a good idea. And you can make those changes immediately. And you don't have to say anything. It doesn't have to be a news flash. You can just quietly course correct. I do that all the time, all right? So, women alone, I would just add that. Kevin said women can't teach you what men want. I would say women alone can't teach you what men want. You could also say single women can't teach you what men want unless they're coming from a position of humility. I'm always telling on myself, I'm always telling you all what I got right and what I got wrong because I think we can learn from mistakes of others as well. And so if there's a woman who's always talking about it was someone else's fault and she was never in the wrong, she never bumped her head or skinned her knee, and she's not giving you encouragement to do better than she did, I would be very wary of that. All right. So you are alone because you need better relationship skills, according to Kevin Samuels in this episode. If you're offended, I'm sorry, not sorry. All right. But yeah, relationships, they're work, but they're not impossibly difficult. You're just unprepared. You have no idea what you're doing and you're trying to figure it out on the job training. And with certain caliber of men, it's just never going to work. All right. So Kevin says, are you where you thought you would be relationship wise? And he made a point to call out relationships because if you listen to this episode, I did link it in the description. Oftentimes when we ask modern women about their goals or about their place in life, you're going to hear about their career, you're going to hear about their trips, you're going to hear about their family, their kids, all that stuff. And funnily enough, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not, the romantic relationship is radio silent. Maybe they don't want to talk about it. Maybe it's non-existent, but he's asking us, he's putting his thumb on us to say, hey, how's your relationship looking? How's it working out for you? All right. So you can ask yourself and you can answer yourself as well. All right. So You all know Kevin's prescription for how to fix this. You need a therapist, you need an image consultant, and a matchmaker. Now, Kevin was biased because he was an image consultant by trade. Again, I am happily average. I am not a glamour girl at all. I took some photos for my 50th birthday. It's nice to play dress up, but you all know this is everyday Maggie. All right. The therapy portion, it is important to do some self reflection. After my marriage ended, of course, I did some individual therapy. We did couples therapy and group therapy, but you need to learn from that and go do better. You're not just supposed to sit there crying and telling the same stories over and over again. You're just wasting your own time. All right. Again, I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. But therapy needs to have an outcome, just like any other femininity training or any other personal development that you do. Let this be a lesson that you don't just go into it blindly because someone said, oh, yeah, it was great. What are your goals? What are you expecting as a result after you do whatever you're going to set forth in doing? All right. And then a matchmaker. Kevin was a fan of the matchmaker because, ladies, especially if you didn't lock it down when you were young, Mr. President is someone that I grew up with, so I knew him young, and I married my college boyfriend. So I married at 25, which you all may say is young, but if you listen to this episode, Kevin said 25 is the last year you can call a woman a young lady. 26 and up, you're good and grown. 30, you're old for marriage. It just is, all right? Is it impossible? No. But ask yourself, when is the last time you went to a 30, 35, 40, 45-year-old woman's wedding and you were just like so overjoyed? Maybe, but usually it's like, oh, that's nice. Congratulations. Because tell the truth, we're kind of saying, yeah, well, about time, right? Thank you, Joey says I seem nice. I try to be. All right. Yes, quietly course correct all the time, Bria. Absolutely. And Bria says, ladies should be conscious of their outfits. We truly attract certain men by what we wear. Yeah, that's a whole topic. Bring modesty back for sure. Okay. So Kevin has said in this episode, did you think you would be married by now? And I know that's a tough one. And I always like to lead with my own experience. You know, if I'm being very honest, of course, I thought I would be remarried by now. I married at 25. I was married for 10 years. And those of you all who know me, you know, I loved being married, loved being a wife and mother. But, you know, all of this, it's my responsibility. But, you know, getting the big job and the big degree and the promotions and the travel and the big house and everything, you think that's actually going to count for your relationship, and it doesn't. And I learned a hard lesson. So, you know, the marriage ended, and then I got right back on the horse in a relationship. And if it were up to me, I would have been remarried a year or two after my divorce. However, Mr. President sat me down on the second date and said, you have to finish what you start. He didn't want a blended family. So I had to wait until the boys were up and out. Now I have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. So it's been a long time coming. All I'm saying is that, ladies, we are not in the power position forever and ever. Amen. Now, I chose to wait on my man because I think he's worth waiting for. Now, when I was young, my ex-husband, I wasn't going to wait. I was young. I was in my prime. I wanted marriage. Obviously, he did too. You have more leverage when you're young. But ladies, you're not going to be able to call the shots forever. You're going to age out of that power position. So you have a very limited window. So now on the second half of life, when I'm older and past my prime, I am very lucky to have a second chance. So I get on his timeline. And we've been together almost 15 years, all right? So 2027, fingers crossed for Maggie. Bria is right, absolutely. You need a therapist. That's right, a personal trainer. I forgot that one. I shouldn't have. We have to be fit, ladies. And you know I struggle with that one. Bria says, I will say the amount of men who pursued me in my 20s versus my 30s drastically dropped. Kevin Samuel was correct. And I love hearing this from the 30-year-olds. And I'm going to tell you all something. Mr. President was over here yesterday watching football, and he said something, and it kind of, when you allow a man to just speak, whew, you hear some things. And he said, I would never date a 30-year-old. And I'm like, oh gosh, why? And he said, with 30-year-olds, at least now, you're going to get the same level of readiness that you're going to get with a 25-year-old. minus 5 years of youth, because the 30-year-olds are not coming to the table, if you will, with real life skills, being able to get in line, being able to work with a man, having that level of maturity. Mentally, they're still like 20 something. We even see some 40 somethings out here, and you talk to them and you're like, shouldn't you be done with all of that by now? All that to say, ladies, the women in their 30s are noticing a difference 10 years past their prime. So be very careful waiting until you're 40 and 50 and thinking it's going to be, you're going to be the cat's meow. Hello, Divine. Thank you so much for being here. All right. So let's get back to Kevin's episode. So if you're not where you thought you would be, did you think you'd be married by now? I've answered. What do you all say? So now Kevin starts to peel the onion back, and he's asking in his monologue, how long was your longest relationship? You all know Kevin had a list of questions that he would ask the ladies. For me, it was 18 years. I met my ex-husband at 18. He was my college boyfriend, married right after college, married for 10 years. When we divorced, I was like 36 when it was final. So half of my life with one person. That was my longest relationship. How did it end? Unfortunately, it ended in divorce. I told you all that. Who ended it? I did not file. He divorced me. Very humbling. And why? And I've shared with you all. I didn't keep the main thing the main thing. Sometimes, especially as modern women, we think relationships are just going to work out. And I'm here to tell you, they're not going to work out. We have to be intentional, and we have to prioritize it like we prioritize all the other stuff that we want to do. So a little bit of transparency on my end. And you all can ask yourself that, did you think you'd be married by now? How long was your longest relationship? Ladies, if you don't really have relationships past 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you just keep starting over and starting over, that's not a good track record. All right. And you can ask yourself, how do those relationships end? Are you that silly runaway bride every time a man gets serious with you? The thrill is gone. The fun is over. You're going to go chase that other thrill and then start over looking for something else that's shallow. You're never going to put down roots, and you're going to be really ill prepared. When you get to my age and you want something meaningful, you're going to be unequipped or ill-equipped to be able to have that. All right. Bria says, he's right. I've seen my early 30-year-old friends talking rudely to their husbands and boyfriends. Yeah, completely unacceptable. That was you in your 20s. You couldn't keep a relationship. That was shallow. Yeah. We've all had lessons that we can learn from. The key is to course correct before time runs out, because it does run out for all of us, even if you're drop dead gorgeous. All right. So Kevin moved on in his monologue to ask this question: when did women become snowflakes? But he often talked about how modern women, as much as we talk about all of our big accomplishments and all these things that we're proud of, we really don't cut the mustard when it comes to being those really honorable women that were the glue of the family, were the heart of the home, were the bedrock of our society. Maybe you still have that in your family, but unfortunately, en masse, most modern women were very, very flighty, we get offended all the time. We can't handle a conversation. We can't take feedback without shutting down. It's not good, ladies, and it's not helping us when you want to be in relationship with a serious man, because life is serious and men know that, all right? Divine says, yeah, social media has ruined a lot of relationships. It looks fade for all of us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hello, Pico fan. Thank you for being here. Okay. Speaking of social media, Kevin said the social programs are now here, and a lot of women, unfortunately, are using safety nets and other programs to replace what a man used to be in our lives, right? Now you can pick up the phone, you can call 911. Oh, thank you so much, Irving, for the €5. He says, we need this transparency that Maggie brings to this space, real humility and humbleness. Maggie's mindset separates the men with intentions from the boys. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. And thank you for the €5. Okay. So Kevin was saying in this episode, a lot of modern women now, because you think you can just dial 911 or you can go out on the roads at safe. There's street lights everywhere. If there's a fire, there's safety programs. Nobody's going to let you go hungry. They're always going to make sure that you're okay. I don't need a man. I can do everything by myself. Okay, Burger King, have it your way. We'll see how long that lasts. But either way, those safety nets or those things that you rely on may be in place, but that's not going to help you when it comes to relationships. And again, if relationship is what you want, there's no way around it, ladies. There is no shortcut. You are going to have to work on relationship skills to maintain a real relationship. And that comes from experience. You can't watch somebody else's relationship. You can't read about it. You can't just dream it up and the story in your head is telling you what it's going to be like when I have my Barbie dream house. No, that's not real, right? Exactly. No man is an island. We all need someone. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Divine says, in my humble opinion, women can get great outcomes if they weren't trying to compete with their partner. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about with the young mothers today. That keeping score, ladies, ultimately we lose. All right. Thank you all so much. Divine says, social skills are the most important. You have to go out and put in the work. Absolutely. Okay. So, right, I know about the Instagram reels. All right, so let's talk about this. So Kevin was saying that unfortunately, especially in our community, it's become acceptable to be a single mother. I remember when I was getting divorced, I was just so distraught about being a statistic. And both of the boys were born in wedlock, but I'll never forgive myself for that because I came from a stable home. My ex husband came from a stable home, and I will say we have co-parented really well. But having the boys go back and forth and just the chaos about that, they don't deserve that. They didn't ask for that, right? But now it's acceptable. Now people are like, oh, we're just sharing a baby. I don't even know what that means. I think it's disgusting. But you didn't ask me that. And Kevin said that a lot of women now are pregnant longer than their relationship lasted. So you're pregnant for 9 months and were you even in a relationship, or did you just have some type of fling and now there's a whole human that you're going to have to explain how they got here? It's really a shame. The issue, too, is that so many women, not only has that become acceptable, but they're almost promoting it like you don't need a man, you don't want a man. Kevin said in this episode, it is unnatural. And I'm going to double down on this. I agree. It is unnatural to not want a man. Now look, if you're one of these modern women, if you think you can do it all by yourself, this doesn't apply to you. But especially for me, for the young ladies who you kind of have that thing inside you, you don't really know how to explain it, but I knew I always wanted to be a wife and mother. I always knew that, even when you don't know how it's going to work out. If you are feeling that way now, it is only going to compound as you get older. So do not let pop music, pop culture, social media, any of that stuff um, make you shy away from what you want, because you will regret it and you will only kick yourself when it's too late, right? Yeah, it's definitely unnatural. Yes, we are here for the relationship skills. All right. So, relationships are a good thing. I am pro relationship. I love love. That's why I'm trying to do my part to help young wives, young mothers as much as I can. I have to slow down now that I'm getting older, but relationships are a good thing. If you look at any statistic, don't believe me, but if you look at any statistic for men and for women, usually those of us that are in marriages or relationships, we're healthier, we're more financially stable. The kids do better in married homes, all of that. I don't have to repeat myself or any of the statistics to you all, but the relationships that you choose to be in should make you better, and you should be making your man better, since I talked to the ladies here. All right. You should be benefiting from that. If you ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I with him? Why am I doing this? Why do I keep going over? Why do I keep letting him over? That's a hit and a half. All right. Thank you. Stony says I'm speaking the truth. I appreciate that. I hope that it's helpful. Okay. So, yeah, Bria says, I met a doctor who said she regrets IVF. She thought it wouldn't matter being a rich single mom. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of this. A lot of women think they can just choose motherhood independently. You can do whatever you want to do. It's a free country, but there's nothing like a good marriage and a good family. It just gives you a foundation that no money can buy. I promise you. Next level says one night of irresponsibility. Promises I can keep. Why women choose motherhood over marriage should be required reading. Yeah, absolutely, Joey. Yeah, I don't like it either. Okay, so let's move on to the part of the episode where the women started to call in. And this one was a tough one for me, y'all. He had some doozies. This was a montage. And again, this episode I'm reacting to is, are you in the position you thought you would be in this winter, right? So Kevin's channel put together a montage of different women that called in. Aw, thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate that. Aw, thank you. Okay. So this woman called in, and I think she said she was 27, and she had been, I'm just going to say, a working girl, a sugar baby. She had been in that line of work where she offered her body for money, and now she's trying to move out of that fast money lifestyle, and she wants marriage. So she's calling and she's asking Kevin, what should she do to be able to get a man? Should she be honest about her past? I've scrubbed the internet. I've paid people to take down photos, but this is what I've done. All right. So Kevin said something. I love the way men just get straight to the point. He said, the men know. Ladies, we're not fooling anybody, all right? Especially men of a certain caliber. I think Kevin said in this episode, they're going to do their due diligence. They are going to research. They're going to ask their network because it's too risky for them to just take any old body, even if you're beautiful, and bring you into their world, and then you are, dynamite, and you're going to, and not in a good way, and you're going to blow up everything. So men take time to access and research our background. So you're not going to get away with anything. And this is why I tell women, if you think you're ever going to want marriage and family, you need to be acting that way now. It's hard enough, in my opinion, it's hard enough for good girls or girls that don't have that type of background to have sustainable relationships because everybody's just at each other now. Why complicate it with something that you're going to be embarrassed about? When you're my age, right? Free agent says, yes, we are. Next level said, yeah, she paid $20,000 to scrub the net. Sounds cheaper to be a modest woman. I know, right? Save your $20,000. Don't have nude pictures on the internet. Save your money, all right? Okay, yeah. Condemn says sugar baby. So let's explore this one. So she calls in, and he asked her, why do you want this type of man? Because you all know Kevin's clientele was high value men, right? Men in the multiple six figures, right? There are men out there in that space. They're great average men. It doesn't, you don't have to have a high value man, but let's tell the truth. That's what most women want. So Kevin is asking her, why do you want that? Right? And she's kind of giving, her reasons. She wants this lifestyle. She wants to be taken care of. But she also said, I want to have some kids, but I want to do my own thing. That way, when times get hard, I don't have to depend on my husband. And Kevin read her the riot act, not because she had a checkered past, but because her mindset was not as a wife. Those of us that have a wife mindset, we love being a support system to our husbands. We love betting the farm on the relationship. Modern women are going to tell you that's crazy. They're going to tell you have a plan B and all of those things. And I'm not saying to be foolish. Of course, you want to have some life skills, but you could tell there was an undercurrent there that she wasn't trusting. And Kevin said, you don't want to be a wife. You're not trying to be married to be a wife. Why would you marry a man and give him kids? Because she goes on about, because of the working girl experiences that she has had, her choice, my body, my choice, she has seen the worst of men. She has seen men be dishonorable, pay money, get whatever they want from her. And now that is the lens that she sees all men through. And Kevin gave her the business. He was like, I'm not going to let you put that on all men. That's not all men. And this is another thing that I've said, ladies, you have to be very careful. A lot of times, young women, especially if you're attractive and you can get resources given to you easily, you think you're winning. I know too many women that have had, bills paid and living in places they can't afford and being flued out and all this foolishness. And you think that little game that you play to get those little trips and trinkets is going to work when you meet a real resolute man. And you don't know how to handle it when he doesn't fall for your games. And so I tell women, you think you're winning, but it's actually hurting you because it's putting you further behind when it comes to those real relationship skills that we talked about in the beginning. All right. Yeah, I know baby showers are celebrated more than weddings. It's terrible. Do not invite me. If you are an unwed mother, I have nothing to say. Do not invite me to the baby shower. All right. I am not coming. I'm not celebrating that. Moving on. All right. So she was talking about, well, I don't want to be with the type of men that I had these interactions with. And he said, why would you even marry and give children to a man that you don't admire and respect? That's one of the things that I always wonder, when women complain about the men that they have. I remember something Mr. President said. There was a woman that I used to coach that she got caught up on saying, oh, he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist. It's really low hanging fruit to say it's always the other person. And Mr. President just shut it down. He was like, why does a narcissist have access to you? All right, ladies, so be very careful. Blaming the world for your problems is not going to help you. She says, I don't want to give up my power. That scares me. And he told her, oh, you want a fool. You want somebody who's going to be on your terms. You want to be the man and you want a wife. That's not how this works. And he said, if you could have gotten that, you would have cashed out. You wouldn't be calling me. If it were so easy to just snap your fingers and get what you want, you would have had it by now. So he said, unfortunately for you, men are going to spot you coming and they're going to exit stage left, not because you have that type of past, but it has impacted the way you look at men, the way you look at relationships now. You can't get out of your own way. And that's sad. Funnily enough, there are some women that maybe were whatever they were in their past, but they have been able to be genuine, be honest, and say, you know what, that's what I used to do. I don't want to do that anymore. And some men will take you up on that if you are genuinely approaching. Maybe you want to be a soccer mom now or whatever it was that Kevin said. But if you think you're going to translate those working girl skills into running game in a real relationship, you'll just end up perpetually alone. It's true. All right. So unfortunately for her, it impacted the way that she thought about men. And Kevin told her, he said, don't put that on all men. You chose those men. You chose to deal with that. Why did you do that? And she said, I wanted the money. And he was like, well, there you have it. You took the highest bidder. You didn't choose a man based on his character. So you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit, right? That's what I say. But it's funny because she was not funny, but she was going on about, okay, well, I'm 27. I want to lock this down by the time I'm 30. He was like, wait a minute. You don't get to put a clock on this. And that's another thing, ladies. I told you I would have been remarried a long time ago, but it's not up to us. Men are the ones that are offering marriage. They are the ones that are making the proposal. All right. So we have to be adding enough value to the point where they say, I don't want to do life with anybody else. I don't want to let this one go. And unfortunately, I have seen another woman that I used to coach. A man was interested in her. She drug her feet. And when she got good and ready, she was like, okay, I'm ready now. He had moved on to another woman. And she's trying to say, okay, well, you need to be serious about me. I'm going to give you 3 months. She's single now because you're not going to nail him down to your timeline when you wasted your own time. All right. Oh, Yeah, absolutely. She's got to scrub more than the internet. Absolutely. So we all choose our experiences, ladies. And so Kevin said this. He said, oh, let me um, watch the audio. He said, if you knew that you were going to want marriage one day, why didn't you change your behavior? So, ladies, winter is here for all of us, right? 12 months from now, it's going to be December 2026. If you don't want to be in the same position, what do you need to do? What are you willing to do? Because the constant is time. We're all going to wake up one day and be 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And I want you to sail into your golden years happy about your life choices and not regretting it. Yeah, Stony feels sorry for her. Not everybody does. It was a mistake. I don't know. Respectfully, I disagree. She let the easy win cloud her judgment. But ladies, that's the thing. You're good and grown. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Once you're 18, you are on your own. So you better take this seriously, all right? So Kevin told her, "Look, you're afraid of the karma. You're afraid that you're going to be found out." Um, he just told her, "Leave the good men alone. You don't qualify for this." And unfortunately, this is something that is probably going to take her a lot longer to get her mind. I don't know if she will ever be able to think like a wife because she thought she had um, the upper hand, and now it's costing her because she's running out of time and scrambling. All right. So Kevin said something to her that I thought was really interesting. Kevin said, guys expect beautiful women to have a past. And I really like this because you all know I say I'm happily average. But ladies, if you are a knockout, if you are a 10, everybody says I'm a 10. That's great. Men are not foolish. Men don't look at beautiful single women and expect that you were sitting alone in the library with your bonnet on, just reading the Bible. All right. They know that they are not the first to make an offer. So if you choose to not attach yourself to a real relationship young and you're an attractive single woman, 30 and plus, you got some explaining to do. Don't even try. Do not even insult the men by these little lies that I hear. I don't know how I ended up here. I'm just unlucky in love. I just never seem to meet the right guy. Don't do that. That's an insult to their intelligence. All right. No man is going to buy all this healing journey and all this other stuff. There was another woman that was saying the same thing. And he's like, how many men did you have to go through on this journey? All right. So just be very careful about that. He says, you're not going to get past accountability. All of us have explaining to do. That's why I fall on my sword and tell what I did and what I learned from it, hopefully in a way that's helpful. All right. So we're not going to be able to make the men responsible for our own poor choices. And that's some low hanging fruit, ladies. You can start with that accountability, because that's one of the things that men are always complaining about with us women, that we always have an excuse for something. So take accountability for how you got here. All right. So yeah, absolutely. Money is not going to make you happy. It may take care of some things. We all like money, but it's not going to give you happiness. Absolutely, right? Yeah, you all are agreeing and understanding. It takes one to know one. Y'all like Mr. President. Why does a narcissist have access to you? She stopped talking about it after that. Yeah, men, listen out for those buzzwords, ladies. So be very careful. Just tell the truth. Just shoot them straight. Men will respect you more if you just come out with it, even if it's ugly. All right. Yeah, Divine says modern women have become the men that they claim that they don't want. All right, let's continue on. You all are very active in the chat today. Okay, so the next woman that called in, oh goodness, this one was a doozy. This was the one, I think she was also in her late 20s. She had the dog barking in the background, a lot of chaos going on. And Kevin said, are you ready to level up for the man that you want? And her answer was, I think I'm already leveled up. Well, all right. A little humble pie never hurt anyone. So he starts asking her all the questions that we already know. And he asked her, when was your last relationship? And she said it was in college. Now, mind you, I think she's 28, 29, 30 now. So her last relationship was in her early 20s and it lasted 2 years. And without missing a beat, Kevin said, so what have you been doing? Again, ladies, just like your work resume, you're going to have to explain gaps in your work resume when you go in for that interview. When you are with a masculine man, you're going to have to explain gaps in your relationship resume. No man is going to believe you. I've just been celibate. I've just been single. I've just been out here finding myself. No, they know what's going on. They are not fools. And I've had more than one man tell me when a woman marries young, even if it doesn't work out, like in my case, the fact that you prioritize marriage as opposed to putting it lower on your list says a lot about you. And men are more trusting of that than just, well, I think her words were, I've just been doing me, whatever that means. Again, you're free to do whatever you want, but everything comes at a cost, ladies. All right. Yeah, absolutely. After your 20s, yeah, and we should all be working on our character. Yeah, and we need to repent if we've messed up. Say so. All right, you're not fooling anyone, ladies. Okay, so she starts giving a little bit of a timeline, and Kevin caught her in a little bit of a slip up because she said something about the guy that she was dating. She didn't really like him. He said, "But you said you didn't have a relationship since you were in college." All right, ladies, you're not going to be able to pull a fast one over on the type of men that we want. So we asked her, how many men did you have to go through to find yourself as you were just doing me? So we've got all this chaos going on, and he's asking her about her background and her family. And, she comes from a little bit of a scattered background, but he was intentionally triggering her and asking some pointed questions. And it didn't take long for her to sass him back. And it wasn't attractive. And that test, Kevin said that he did that intentionally because he was able to size up women pretty quickly. And the way that she answered some of his questions showed that she was one of those, Mr. President calls them rah-rah girls. You got that rah-rah in you, right? And you may think it's cute. It may work on the type of men that you ultimately do want, the men that you ultimately don't want, but you're going to slip up and try that with a real one, and he's going to call you out on it, and you're going to have to explain yourself. Or like Kevin said, for men, talking that mess back and forth, they have to be ready to back it up. But unfortunately, because women usually get away with bad behavior, we do things that we don't have to back up. And then you're just continuing to flex that muscle. You're continuing to perfect that skill that you like it. You get a little thrill out of going back and forth with somebody. And he said, in this case with her, it actually gets her excited. I don't understand that at all. But again, ladies, if that's what you think a relationship is, that tit for tat, that sparring, I gotta read you, I gotta get you told, I gotta do all that stuff. Men may spend time with you, but they're not going to keep you around. Men don't want that. Not at all. Irving says this happens so often, you can't get that time back from that bad behavior. It's true, ladies. So be very careful. You are not getting away with anything. Thank you, Damone. I appreciate the compliment. Okay, so he was asking her, who's helping you choose the men as you've been going through life? And she says, I just pick men that I'm interested in. It's really important, ladies, that you understand there is a difference between a man and a man who is husband material. There's lots of men, but there are very few husbands. You're not going to have unlimited chances at this. Mr. President said, we get one opportunity to get this thing right. If you are lucky, lightning may strike twice and you get a second chance. So I'm holding on for dear life. But I think a lot of times women confuse interaction that you get from men, the DMs that you get, the money that's spent on you, the time, the sleepovers, whatever y'all are doing. And you think that equates to how many real men of character that you would actually consider husbands that you have an opportunity with. And if you're honest with yourself, you know that not every man that you interact with is somebody that you're going to be with long term. So again, you're just wasting time that you don't have time to waste. Your choice, but you're going to have to answer to that, because men are going to ask you, so if you knew it wasn't going anywhere, why did you spend how many years with him? All right. Mistakes and choices are not synonymous. That's right, Bria. Absolutely. Okay. So Kevin told her that bad behavior, that sass, that little attitude that she had, he said it may fly with some of the punks that you're used to, but it's not going to fly with real men. And this is what I see, unfortunately. A lot of times, by the time women come to me, they've blown it. They finally met a real one and now they're ready, and they are scared straight because they haven't seen anything like this before. He's not as impressed with them as maybe what they're used to. So be very careful, ladies. And this is not a game. You don't have unlimited do overs in this thing called relationships. So Kevin told her, you may have had a lot of experiences. And she started to say, I can call my ex right now. He said, but that doesn't mean anything. He didn't wife you. There's no relationship to speak of. So be very careful, ladies, just equating the men that you have access to real men that are offering you their covering. It is very different, believe me. All right. So she got a little snappy at the end. She said, okay, so that's my rating. And he gave her the business. He was like, that eternal seven, or that woman that's above average in her looks, tends to be condescending to men. And, ladies, you're blessed with the face that you're blessed with. You have the body that you work for. All of that is great. But if you don't have the heart and the spirit and the kindness that goes with it, I hate to say it, but there are men that take a lot of pleasure in putting you in your place. So it's always better if you humble yourself before life humbles you, right? Irving says there are no shortcuts. You're absolutely right. Yeah, selfishness is going to be a big problem for a lot of us, right? Free agent says, yeah, young wives and mother material women get off the market quick. It's true, ladies. I'm telling you, take it from me. If you don't want to be out here trying to figure out what's next for you, make your choice early, find the best that you can, and get out of this dating market. Stop thinking that there's always something better behind door number 2. You will find yourself perpetually alone. All right. So, Kevin continued on with this woman. And he said, because of course she wants a high value man, like all the women that would call him, they want a high value man. And he said, that little sass that you have, that's not going to fly. High level men require femininity, and they require a woman to be cooperative. They already have to fight the world. They already have to fight it out at work and all the challenges of their day. They will not go 12 rounds with you. They just won't. So if you found yourself quickly on the outside or ghosted or whatever, that could be right. That could be why. And he said, it's a tell. Another 30-year-old woman that's cute, that's got a dog, and it's all about her. You could tell the way she set up her life. And y'all know I'm not an animal lover. Do what you want to do. But a lot of times, he said, women will get these animals as a placeholder for the children that they should be pouring into. Again, do whatever you want to do, but men do look at that and be very careful about creating this picture perfect life that you just want to plug in your Ken doll. It's not going to work that way. All right, ladies. So he said, for men like him, you're not going to be, this is going to hurt. You're not going to be running the show, ladies. He said, you're going to be one in the room, one of the women in the room vying for our attention. So no matter how attractive you are, you're going to have to work to keep the relationship. Now, those of us who prioritize relationships, we're up for the challenge and we look forward to earning our keep. We look forward to adding value to our men. If you hear that and you think it's just supposed to be given to you on a silver platter and you want to just keep him under, lock and key and he's not supposed to go out into the world, it's just not real. It's not real at all. All right. So make sure that you make yourself valuable. And when you do that earlier, that's how you become irreplaceable, right? Because once that man has achieved, it is nearly impossible to get close to him. Believe me. All right. Library books and bonnets. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we respect the grind because, ladies, tell the truth. We don't want to work as hard as men do. We just don't. Lie if you want to, but I don't know any 45-year-old woman that is burning the candle at both ends and happy about it. Tell the truth, most of y'all at 35 are done with it. Once we've had about 10 years in corporate America, we've seen it all, the promotions, the layoffs, the mission statements, the town halls, all of that stuff. Usually by then, we start looking left and right and looking for an exit strategy. By 45, we hate it here, right? Now we know we got to work or whatever the situation is, but just be very careful hanging your hat on that. Be very careful, believe me. All right. So he asked her, where is your history of cooperating with a man? Again, you have gaps in your resume. It's time the hiring manager is asking questions about that. And she said, oh, I've never done that. They just let me be me. Warning, iceberg, right ahead. It is not a flex, ladies, to tell a man that I just been able to do whatever I want to do for as long as I want to do it. Because in his mind, he's thinking, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be the first person to tell you no. And then what happens when I tell you no? Do I want to see how you're going to fall out on the floor and have a tantrum like a child? Or do I want to build with a woman that is more agreeable and understands she's not always going to get her way, but we're going to work together and build something that's going to benefit the both of us? All right, ladies, so be very careful about that. Oh, yeah, here's another one. I was just young and dumb. Men aren't buying it, ladies. You're going to pay for all of those choices, all of them. You're not getting away with anything. Me either. All right, so be very careful. So another one who was pretty, and he said, so you're drop dead gorgeous. Now what? And it was crickets. Because unfortunately, and I love a beautiful woman, there's nothing wrong. We all admire the beauty, but it can be very dangerous, ladies, if that's where it begins and ends with you. Sometimes if you're beautiful and everything has been given to you and you've never had to work hard and you've never had to earn anything, you're going to meet a man that's all he entertains is beautiful women. So you're going to be one of. So you have to have some substance there to make yourself stand out, or you're just going to be standing alone because the beauty is only going to get you to the front of the line, but you're still going to have to take the test. And I want you to pass that test. All right. Yeah. You can't be young and dumb for a decade. It's just not going to fly. You can't, ladies. That's not going to fly. Stop it now. All right. So he asked her, you can get a man, but why can't you keep a man? Ugh, I know it's hard, but it's true, ladies. That's what men look at. All right. So watch the sass, watch the attitude. Your girlfriends may think it's cute. The men that you can run circles around may let you get by with that slick mouth, but it's going to cost you with a real one. And you may not have that second chance, all right? He told her, your instinct is to fight. Your instinct is to fight back, and you get upset when men don't bow down to you. And he told her, you ain't that special to me. Oh, I laugh because when a man feels confident enough to just shoot it straight, man, you're going to get some doozies, ladies. All right? Just be prepared for it. Bria says, I really enjoyed when Kevin would make ladies explain what that healing journey consisted of. Don't even get me started on that, ladies. Yeah, just heal and then move on. All right? You're not supposed to be healing forever. I don't understand that. All right. So we talked about these women who like to argue. We talked about these women who get excited with the tit for tat. That's only going to work on a certain caliber of men, ladies, and it's not the men that you're ultimately going to want. And he said, be wary. He was talking to the men now, and I don't feel like I have a place to talk to men, but he did say in this episode, men, be wary of these type of women because Even if you are the perfect man, in person and on paper, a woman that likes that fight, that just can't get right unless things are, disturbed, she is going to cause discomfort, discontent. She's going to ruffle feathers. She's just going to do that thing. She's just going to have that twitch. She's just going to mess it up again. So be very careful with those women. All right. So we've already established that it is unusual if you are attractive and you've been single for 10 years. Men are going to look at that with one eyebrow up, maybe two, if they look at that at all. All right. Moving on to the third woman who called in. Her name was AJ, and she was 33. All right. Divine says, our people need to learn how to handle constructive criticism and move forward. Yeah, and here's the thing, ladies, that men really doesn't sit well with them. You take that feedback from your boss. You take that feedback in other areas, right? If you are, going up to be, I don't know, a singer, a model, a baker, or whatever, and someone says you need to work on this, you say, okay, thank you for the feedback. Thank you for letting me know. But when your man says, I don't like that, don't do that, now all of a sudden the sky is falling. It's not going to fly. Okay, let us continue on. This one was painful for me, you all. This woman called in. She was 33, and she was the one who used all her SAT vocabulary in answering a simple question. And ladies, we have got to stop thinking that we can impress the men that we want, as Mr. President says, with all that book learning. I am here for the academics, all right? I got a STEM degree, I got a master's degree. None of that matters in relationships. Can you have a conversation? Can you look at a man eye to eye and just speak plainly? Can you explain yourself? He ended up telling her, just talk to me like I'm 4. And men will tire of that, because what is it that you're trying to cover up for? We're on the same team. Why can't you just talk to me like a regular person? Why do you feel like you got to use those SAT words with me? All right. So she was tap dancing around giving forgiveness and also having regret that there are men that she should have taken seriously when she had the opportunity. But she just was talking about, sometimes people don't have the capacity to understand the nature of forgiveness. It was painful to listen to. So the lesson in that was, Kevin was saying sometimes with all this higher education, we have even worse people skills. So ladies, if you have to choose between hard skills and soft skills, if relationships are what you want, prioritize the soft skills. You can always learn a trade. You can always go back to school. You can always, read a book and increase your vocabulary. But the flaw that a lot of modern women make, especially the smart ones, especially the accomplished ones, they think that classroom success is going to translate into relationship. And then you're just sitting there blinking fast and slow because the man is like, what does that even mean? And it's not that men are slower than you or dumber than you or anything. Men just know how to communicate with all those words, because as they say, it don't take all that. All right. So be careful. Men also will avoid those type of women, because ladies, we should be a soft place to land for our men. We should be that warm and welcoming space when they come home, that they can leave all of that outside and they don't have to try so hard and think so much and debate. Maybe that's a relationship that you have, but most men don't like that. They just want a good woman. They just want a sweet woman. Why can't you just be regular? All right. So all that nuance doesn't work. And he said, if we can't even have a conversation, if we can't even communicate, talking to you sounds like you're making a speech. And then again, he gave her feedback and she said, I thought that's what I said. So it went from bad to worse, because now she's in her feelings, she's offended. And you can tell women that react like that, women that have that type of, hubris, like, how dare you criticize me? Nobody's ever corrected you. That means you really haven't been with a man of a certain caliber, because believe me, you're going to get humbled all the time. I get told about myself every day, all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I got to do better. But Again, that's part of those relationship skills when you realize this is not personal. I just want to relate to you better. All right. So just get to the point, Maggie. All right. Stop making it difficult. All right. So, yeah, we don't want to be argumentative either, right? Yeah, you're not going to turn a man into a husband. He has to be a husband. By the time you interact with him, if he is not husband material or on his way to being husband material, there is nothing that you can do. All right, stop wasting your time trying to change him. Let him go through his own process. Every man has to go through their own process, and it's not on your time, ladies. All right, so stop thinking you're that special. So, Kevin told her, men are not your girlfriends, right? We don't want to hear all these words. Make it a yes or a no. And there's a woman that I used to coach, and she had a really hard time with this, especially ladies, if you have those type of careers where your intellect is great at work and everything sounds like, some type of town hall or keynote speech, just be very careful what I tell the ladies, and I do have a free resource for you all. If you go to my website, teachablemomentswithmaggie.com, for the month of December, I have my marriage communication speech, and I give you all some tools on how you can how you can communicate with men, and it's free for the month of December. But one of the things you can do, lead with the answer first, and then wait. Maybe they need the color commentary, maybe they don't. But if they ask you a direct question, be prepared to give a direct answer. Stop all that tap dancing and then finally land the plane and then you've lost them. All right. So start with the answer first, or the request for first, or the ask. If you're asking for your advice, if you're asking for direction, if you're asking for anything, say that and then ask them, do you need to know some more details? All right. All of that is in the marriage speech. So that's a free gift for you all. You can go to my website and find it. All right. So practice that, ladies. That's another thing that's a relationship skill. Being able to communicate succinctly will take you very far. We women, we like all of the detail. We like to know the storyline and all that. Men don't. And if you're not practiced in that, you're going to be behind. You're going to be behind, especially when you're dealing with a certain caliber of men. That's where you're going to come with, he's controlling. He shut me down. He's just, no, he's just a man. He's just tired. He don't want to hear all that. All right. You'll hear this in the speech too. Let him decompress. Let him come to you when he's ready. Believe me, he'll find you. All right. Bria says, in my 20s, there were men who were honest with themselves, saying they weren't relationship type of men, and you moved on. Good for you. And here's the thing, ladies, it doesn't make them a bad person. Stop trying to force these men. Men don't lie. They don't have to. If a man tells you, I'm not looking for a relationship, believe him. Allow him to go focus on what he wants to focus on. Now, if you want to waste time too, you all can waste time together, but you're only wasting your own time. If you know you're going to want relationship, I say exclusively date men that are relationship minded, and then get the best from that pool. Stop casting a wide net to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then wondering if everybody that you pass by on the street or get on the elevator with is your husband. No, you get one shot. So move with intention, all right? You're not helping yourself out here. All right, focus, Maggie. So he was talking to this woman with all this book learning about her struggle to forgive. And he asked her, how can you be in a relationship without learning to forgive? We got to be able to take feedback. And ladies, we got to be able to move past the little offenses. Sometimes men, when they're stressed out, they're just really short with you. It's not the end of the world. Get over yourself. That's just how men communicate. All right. And then she said, well, sometimes people don't deserve my forgiveness. Goodness. So here you are, Miss High and Mighty, and unless they grovel at your feet and say, please, sir, may I have some more, they are not worthy of your forgiveness. Well, that explains why she's single today. And he said again, a lot of women don't have regular interactions with men, so you don't understand how men communicate and how they move through life. And he said, unfortunately, for a lot of women, this one's going to hurt. Your first interaction with a man is transactional, maybe even sexual. So you know how to do that thing, but you don't know how to just be with a man. You don't know how to communicate with a man. You don't know how to learn from a man. You don't know how to listen to a man. You don't know how to follow a man. You don't know how to support a man. You don't know how to do any of that stuff. You just know how to do that one thing that you do Good or not, I don't know, but you do it over and over again and you think that's going to get you the outcome that you want. It won't, okay? So he says we need to make relationships our number one priority if that's what you want, ladies. You're going to have to go and be intentional about this. And I say unapologetically, stop acting like, oh, it's just going to happen. It's going to be on my vision board. It's going to be on my fortune cookie. It's going to be on my bingo card. It will not. Life will pass you by, and we'll be sitting here in December of 2026, and you'll be wondering how we got through another winter. All right. Natalie says men know who they will use and which ones they will marry. That's so true. So, which one are you going to be, ladies? It's up to you. All right. The other thing Kevin warned about is women becoming mini therapists. So, you could tell this woman in her answer, she's like, well, I talk to my therapist, and sometimes people don't have the capacity and they look at your intention, and she's talking all this stuff. And we have to be careful about that, ladies. Again, there's nothing wrong with therapy. Get the healing that you need and move on. But don't make the mistake that you're now going to go diagnose everybody. You're now going to go tell your men you got this type of attachment style and you're this type of avoidant, whatever. You are not a doctor. And men don't want to hear that. Stop it. You've been in 2 sessions and now you're telling everybody what's wrong with them when you can't even get out of your own way. All right. So be careful about that. Whether you think it's helpful or not, it's condescending. Nobody asked you. So just don't. Work on you. And if someone asks, give them a referral. But that can be hurting your results as well. If you think that you're going to complicate this by now running and telling that one thing that you just learned, and now everybody has got some type of child wound or inner trauma or whatever. Stop. No, it's not that. We haven't survived for hundreds and thousands of years as a species if everybody's that bothered and broken. Now, I don't know if we're going to survive. I'm here sounding the alarm for as long as I can. I tell you all, I'm here until I'm not. Mr. President said when I start flipping off switches and yanking out cables, y'all will know it's a wrap. But keep the main thing the main thing. And if relationship is what you want, focus on your own. All right. Stop trying to tell everybody about themselves, because you took as long as you wanted to get to where you are. So allow other people to do the same. You are not responsible for them. Like me, I come, I tell you, you do what you want to. All right. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares. And we just got to shoot straight, right? Irving says KS is right. Men with self-respect will not tolerate or invest in the foolishness. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. I'm glad this is helpful. I'm glad this is helpful. Yeah, we don't want to work as hard as men. No, we love our men. We want to support them working hard. All right, so men are simple. Let's stop trying to make it so complex, ladies. All right, again, circling back to what we said in the beginning, we can learn about femininity from women, but we're only going to get those relationship skills from men, observing them. That's why the nuclear family is so important. When you see your mom and your dad interacting with each other, hopefully in a good way, you kind of learn those things without even knowing that you're being taught. I'm so grateful for humble beginnings. And you learn it from what you've experienced growing up. But what you can control is the relationships that you choose to have. All right. So he asked her if you've ever been able to give a genuine apology. Ladies, when we mess up, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I was wrong. And you don't have to say it for the world to know, but make right with that person, especially if that's your man. That goes a long way, right? Because if we can't get over ourselves and if we can't work together as a people, it's really going to affect the couples, the families, the community, the society, and ultimately, I'm thinking for all of our children's, right? I don't want it to be whatever happened to those people, because life and love and family and everything looks so different 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now because we couldn't get it together. And Mr. President always used to say, I see how we got to Handmaid's Tale. I always used to say, that's crazy, don't say that. But y'all, we don't have too much more that we can be out here with the foolishness before something drastic has to happen, right? Free Agent says Drop Dead Gorgeous has an expiration date for both men and women. Yeah, I understand. Because men have what we want, Because men establish relationships, ladies. And if you don't believe me, find me the relationship that you went up to a man and said, I like you, we go together now. It doesn't work that way. All right. So we need to use our superpower wisely. So again, he's back to this lady with the big SAT words, and he's asking her, "Have you gotten this feedback about you being difficult to communicate with, you being difficult to have an apology, be able to apologize?" And he said, "If this has happened with multiple people, as we say, that's a hint and a half." But he said, the world doesn't owe you understanding. So again, all that talking about your trauma and your wounds or whatever, nobody cares. Are you going to be useful to me or not? It's like a job interview. At the end of the day, like, don't ask me what I did over the weekend. Like, nobody really cares. Am I going to deliver on my timelines or not? That's just the truth. And the sooner we can get to that point and understand that's what it is, I think we'll be better off overall. All right. Nobody owes us anything. All right. So if you've messed up, you need to fix it. Nobody wants to hear your sad story over and over and over again. So again, he asked her some questions about her therapy and has this been successful? You've been in therapy for all these years. I think it was like 4 years. She starts talking about her family, or I think her nieces or nephews or something. He said, your personal romantic life. Again, like we established in the beginning, ladies, if you're going into training or you're going into therapy or all of these things, what is the outcome that you expect? Don't spend another moment or another dime just taking a class or just going to see a therapist because you just drive to the same place every week. What are your goals? It's the end of the year, whether you do New Year's resolutions or not. Look at the time that you've spent. Look at the money that you've invested. Has it brought you closer to what you want? And before you just keep doing that again for 2026, ask yourself, what do you want this time next year to look like? All right. So he asked her, have you had any success in your relationships? The answer was no. So he said, you haven't had any romantic success post therapy. So what has this 4 years been doing? Again, gaps in the relationship. So men are going to look at you like, you've been spending all this money and spending all this time going to therapy and you're still single, or you're still talking about your traumas and healings. So he touched another nerve and she said, I don't judge success by the length of a relationship. Well, that was not good. And he told her, he said, it's such a shame we have so little expectations for relationships. Ladies, that doesn't even make sense. All of us judge success by time spent in real relationships. I know some people just stay together on paper, but we're not talking about that. But there's something there. When you hear somebody's been together for 20, 30, 40 years, usually we're like, wow, how did you do that? Because there's a story there. They've been through some things, right? Now, if you don't care about that, if you just want to do your own thing, none of this applies anyway. Irving says, a person who likes to be combative and argumentative, that speaks to their toxicity. I guess so, right? No, this wasn't the juxtaposition lady. I remember that. Gosh, yeah, this was another one. So he told her, you are 33, ma'am. You are old for marriage. And I know that might hurt, but yeah, ladies, again, he said, up to 25, you're a young woman. I was married at 25, and I remember vividly feeling like I beat the buzzer because I didn't want to be closer to 30 than I was to 20. After 25, you're no longer a young woman, all right? So stop it. At 33, 34, 35, you're not young. You are good and grown, and you're old for marriage, all right? So relationships should be easier after therapy. Whatever you went in for your struggles, you should be easier at that thing on the other side. All right. You shouldn't still be taking another lap around the same mountain. And he said therapy is not supposed to be long term. I am not a doctor. Do not listen to me. If you're supposed to be in therapy for 20 years, then that's you. But usually you're supposed to get what you need, get out and go put it into practice in the real world and have some results from it. All right. You shouldn't still be making those same mistakes. The therapy is useless if it's not helping you. All right. So again, she wanted a high value man. She said she wanted a family. Is this the same one? I can't remember. After a while, they start running together. But what he said is that you don't need a high value man to have a family. High value men are rare. They are out there, but it is a very small circle. And we don't choose high value men. They choose us. All men choose us, but high value men especially, they're going to vet a lot more thoroughly, and they're going to give you, like Mr. President told me, I'm going to tell you one time in a row and let you figure it out. And they mean it. Play if you want to. All right. So, but you can still have a wonderful family. Most of us come from humble beginnings. You can have a wonderful family, and a man is still a man. A man is brave, a man is wise, a man is strong, a man is decisive, a man protects his own. Doesn't matter if he makes multiple six figures, he can be your high value man. All right. So, um, I think we move on to the next woman. I can't remember her specifics, but she was another one who was attractive. And he said, just being attractive does not get you a high value man. Again, men in this arena, they are looking for specific. They are looking for the feminine asset to their masculine brand. And a lot of times, ladies, we're short sighted because we think it's going to come in a certain packaging. And of course, men want us to look nice, but they want a woman that can run their life so that they can focus on their goals. All right. So, again, ladies, if you're not useful, if all you can do is sit down and look pretty and smile cute, you're not useful. That's why a lot of times you find high value men with women that you think are average, but it's because those women have proven their value over time. And we come from a certain background that makes us trustworthy. Doesn't mean I'm anything special, but that means that I made decisions that put me in a position to put me in place for the type of relationship that I have. All right. So, again, if that's what you want, you need to start moving that way early, right? Bria says that was me. You got a master's thinking it would be impressive. I know. Sometimes I forget. I'm like, oh, yeah, I do have that MBA. It's great. It pays well, for work, but that's just work. Irving says, Maggie said it, multiple PhDs mean nothing if you have no relationship soft skills. Absolutely. And Kevin told this woman, he said, you're going to price yourself out of the market. A lot of times, modern women, especially with these big jobs and big degrees, you think that that's going to equate you with a comparable man. But it actually has the opposite effect. If you don't know how to humble yourself and put your degree and your own accomplishments in their place, because that man is not going to compete with you. Mr. President told me, he was like, yeah, I like you better at home. So that was a hint and a half for me. Now I could say, in my mind, I'll tell y'all, in my mind, I was like, does he know who I am? I lead this big team. I have this big budget. I have all these responsibilities. But if I was being really honest with myself, once I got over my ego, I was like, I hate the commute, the deadlines, all these meetings, everything. And so I had a decision to make. Now, if you hold your accomplishments so precious, maybe that's what you need to focus on. But when you find yourself alone, that's what you chose. All right. And we all are going to live by the choices that we make. All right. So the next woman, who thought she was attractive. And I think she said somebody in the grocery store told her that she should be a model. Yeah. It didn't go well for her. And again, I love beauty. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're beautiful, that's a blessing. But just be very careful about thinking that that's going to entitle you to a certain outcome. Because here's the thing. He asked her, he said, especially these women who think they're a 10, or someone said you should model, or all of that. Mr. President said it this way. If you are not making money from your looks, if no one has signed you, like Kevin said, has anybody signed you? If you are not one of those that your body of work is because of your beauty, you are not a 10. You are not a model. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am not a 10. I am not a model. And I have a wonderful life. So just be very careful about that, ladies. Use the beauty to help you make connections, but be very careful thinking that it's going to carry you forward. It's a beautiful blessing, but if you do not earn money by your looks, stop saying you're a 10. All right. So he gave her some feedback. She got a little upset. And again, he was like, You can't tell women the truth without them getting mad. Ladies, somebody has to be able to tell you you're average, but you're my average and I love you. I've told you all this story and I continue to embarrass myself, but hopefully it's helpful. I remember Mr. President and I were going out. He was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and I was just feeling butterflies like I do. And I fixed my mouth to look at him, and I was just like, babe, what would your life be like without me? And without missing a beat, he was like, it'd be the same. Y'all, when I tell you, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. And he was like, what? Did I say something mean? And he was like, babe, I mean, I hope it's you, but somebody's going to take me up on my offer. What? I was quiet the rest of the ride. So I'm telling you, ladies, if you think that you are that precious, you're going to get your feelings hurt, right? Now, we laugh about it now, but, I say that to say all of us are pretty standard. Kevin said, even the body parts that we think are so wonderful, it comes standard on every model. All right. It comes standard on every model. So, what makes a difference is the relationship and the bond that you've built. And that comes over years, ladies, sometimes over decades. I love listening to a man who talks about his wife. 20, 30, 40, 50 years when they've built something together, when she's given him children and raised them, in the house together and been a support system, man, you're not going to find anybody that can take her place. All right. So be very, very careful. Irving says, amen. All right. So the next one, I think this was the last one. This one was a tough one, y'all. This was a 50-something-year-old woman who had a lot of health problems, and she was calling in for advice. I don't know why women do this to themselves. I really don't understand. So, she was heavy, and he said, you know what, a lot of big women don't like to hear the truth. She was asking about this boyfriend that she has, and I don't know if she was trying to get a high value man. It was actually quite embarrassing, but he basically told her, with your background, I think she had 3 strokes and had gained a lot of weight and just all of these health problems. And she's in her 50s. I think she's been divorced 3 times. It was a mess. And he was like, men don't want a woman of your size and of your background. And it's hard to hear, but ladies, before we go out into the world, like my man says, running in traffic head first, really look at your life. Look at the choices that you make. Look at your own track record and your pedigree. Don't go embarrassing yourself. Don't go having yourself get your feelings hurt publicly. Don't make a man have to tell you something that you already know. Because he told her, she said, well, thank you for being honest with me. And he said, I think you knew that. He said, at this point, you're lucky to have a man at all. And then she was like, well, he can't offer me anything. And again, Kevin said, well, why are you with him? Ladies, we can't just make foolish choices and then expect a man that we admire and respect to say, you know what, I understand why you would do that. No, they're thinking, why would you do that? Why would you waste time with somebody that you know is no good for you? That doesn't make sense, all right? And he told her this delusion is dangerous to your health. At this point, like Kevin said, you find somebody, especially in your later years, as long as you're crazy, doesn't make them crazy and vice versa, and get out of this dating market because we're all going to age and you want somebody that's going to be there and go through the ups and downs of life with you. Stop trying to chase something, especially when you're way past your prime, if you were there at all anyway, all right? Yes, we need to learn to forgive the little offenses. And you all know, let's use common sense, all right? I'm not talking about anything ridiculous, but stop being so sensitive. Stop getting so offended. You're just gonna find yourself alone. Because if every time Mr. President corrected me, I had something to say and all that, I would find myself by myself, right? We laugh at it and just keep moving on, all right? Irving says communicating with a man is not just talking about yourself and expecting him to listen solely. Oh my God. Yes, ladies, listen to that free resource. I talk about communication skills, hopefully in a way that is helpful. All right. So, Kevin said a lot of women in the 36 to 60 age group, and we see a lot of these former celebrities online still thinking, in their 50s and 60s that they're running things like they did in their 20s and early 30s. And it's embarrassing, ladies. And I don't want anybody to be publicly humiliated. It's not funny and it's not fun. So humble yourself before the world humbles you, and look at yourself realistically. What you can do is ask a man that you admire and respect, a friend, a brother, to tell me, you know what, how do I show up like on the dating market? Be honest with me. But before you do, make sure you're ready to take the feedback. If you're going to fall out on the floor or go cry in the corner, you're not ready. You are not ready, right? Communicating and venting are two different things. Absolutely. Okay. So, winding up this very long episode, Kevin did a little mini monologue at the end of the episode, and he had some really nice pieces in there that I wanted to share with you. All right. So, we talked about some of the struggles as we have as our women, but the competition is out there, and they know they're men, and they lock it down, and they're out of the dating market. All right. We need to have a good assessment of ourselves, get the best that you can in your prime, hold on, and this will just go over your head. None of this will apply to you because you'll just be living your life. And that's where you want to be, especially at this age, right? Yeah, I know. This narcissist thing is out of control. Okay, so Kevin started talking about women being authentic and allowing men to see us in our natural state. He said something about, as a man, you have to be able to mess up the pretty. And ladies, we have to be able to allow our men to mess up the pretty. Now, I know when you get all dressed up and all of that, we all like to play dress up. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there is something wrong with never letting a man see you in your natural state. In my opinion, I think our daily look should be closer to natural and save the glam days for special occasions. If every day you look like a runway, the way men look at it is, okay, what's beneath there? What are you trying to hide? And Mr. President said it like this: if I want you, I want you. I want to know you. I want to see you. I want to love you, right? So I would say, ladies, have a self care routine that you can do consistently. Um, so you're not having these wild swings from dolled up to looking homeless. All right. Men really appreciate consistency. And that way you don't have that far to go. If you just do a little bit of light makeup, your fresh face out of the shower still looks like you. You don't want him to see you without your whole big production and he's like, who is that? That is not good. All right. Because to men, it says that that's a woman who's willing to be real in front of you. I talked to a woman who, always thought she had to be in some type of gown, and she was so nervous that the man that she was, I guess, dating, she's single now, he would call her kind of short notice and say, hey, let's go out and do something. And in her mind, she needed all this time to get herself together because she wanted to be one of those that walk into the place and, shut the party down because she's so gorgeous. But that's not real. And men know that's not real. And I think there's a beauty to being who you really are, flaws and all. And that's what men want. Because he said that there's a trustworthiness in that authenticity, and that's how we get close to a man. When they know that we're being our authentic self, that's how we earn that trustworthy space. So a lot of times women think, okay, I need to look the part, I need to be perfect all the time. Now, of course, you need to be presentable. I get up and I get myself together every day. So whether I'm home all day or I go out or I was in the carpool line or the grocery store, I'm not looking like Who Shot John. But you all know what I mean, right? So A couple questions that Kevin asked. You can ask yourself, ladies, again, if you're not where you want to be, what was this one? Are you in the position you thought you would be this winter? Ask yourself, ladies, are you really a wife? Do you want marriage because you want to build legacy, you want to build family because you think we're better together, you want to be a support system, you want a man to be a leader, all of those things, you want to be a wife, you want to, be the heart of the home and raise children or, be a mother figure, any of that. Do you long for that genuinely? Or is it just your get out of jail card, or you hate your life and are borderline homeless and you need a place to stay? That's not what a wife is, right? Absolutely. We're not going to weaponize therapy to be condescending. So ask yourself, ladies, am I really a wife? When you hear the word wife, do you aspire to be that? Do you long to be that to a man? It's not for everybody. And that's okay. Not everybody is cut out to be a wife because it is a real job. So ask yourself, when you hear that word, do you long to be a wife, or does it kind of ruffle your feathers? Do you feel like, no, I'm bigger than that, I'm better than that, I'm a boss, I want to do my own thing? That's fine. Go do your own thing. Go be great. But just remember, you chose that, and that may mean that you're going to be alone, but you chose to go do that thing. All of us have to make a choice. I had to choose to lay down that you know, big boss career, but I've never been happier and healthier and more at peace. All right. So that's number one. Number two, Kevin said, are you dating with intention? All right. So we're asking questions. If you're not where you thought you would be, how have you been spending your dating time? How have you been spending time with men? Have you been dating with intention? You'll hear me say, I think the purpose of dating is to determine if this is a suitable match for marriage or long term. It's not just to get dressed and look cute and take pictures and go to a restaurant that you can't afford and all this other stuff. You need to be asking yourself, is this a man that I could do life with? You're vetting him just as he's vetting you. If not, what are we doing? You're just wasting time. Now, if you just want to have fun, if you think you got more summers to hot girl and all of that, I can't help you. None of this applies. But ask yourself, ladies, have you been taking the time to study the type of men that you're interested in? When somebody gives you his attention, do you know how to respond to that? Do you know how to communicate with him? Do you know how to flirt? Do you know how to pay a compliment? Do you know how to be a support system? Do you know how to do anything that's going to add value? Or are you just there, right? So look at how you spent your dating life, and moving into 2026, date with intention. If a man approaches you and he's like, you know what, I don't really want to, call it anything. Why do we have to get so serious? Let's just have fun. Let's just hook up. Let's just do whatever. Thank you. But, my goal is to be a wife and mother one day, and I'm dating exclusively with that intention. So I wish you the best. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to tell him off. You don't have to get loud. You don't have to shame him. You can either accept with grace or exit with grace, right? So make sure you are clear how you are going to be dating. Your interaction with men should have an end goal, ladies. We're not just sitting there just to be sitting there. All right. Number three, are you providing the girlfriend experience? I had never heard this term, but apparently with working girls, there's a certain tier where, besides just being transactional, they can actually play the girlfriend role. I didn't know this is a thing, and honestly, I wish I didn't know. But anyway, ladies, if men are paying for the girlfriend experience, why not be his real girlfriend, right? Why not be devoted to him, loyal to him? Why not be complimentary of him, supportive of him? All the things, and Kevin listed them out. Peace, tranquility, affection, respect, and support. So 5 things. So we'll go through those quickly, and I'll give you all some examples because I really do want this to be helpful, right? No, we don't want a lack of maturity. We want you all to be moving towards your goals. So the girlfriend experience, if you don't know what it means to be a girlfriend, if you think you're just supposed to be body parts, then It actually makes me very sad. But let's see how we can make this helpful. Peace. I know you hear the term be his peace. Ask yourself, when you're alone in your thoughts, your environment, would you describe that as peaceful? Do people leave you better than they found you? Do you have any soothing qualities about you? When your man is around you, can he just kind of like, can he just shut it off and just be? Are you a place of peace for him? Or is it always something? Are you always complaining about something? Is something always wrong? Are you always starting something? Is there always some drama? Are you just always on 10? All right. So ask yourself, that is not the girlfriend experience. So you need to work on that, especially if you want to be with a man of a certain caliber. They require a peaceful environment at home. And those of us that want to be wise love creating that space for our men. All right. Tranquility. Similar, but not the same. Do you have that calming effect? When you walk into a space, do people kind of relax around you? Again, do you leave people better than you found them? Whether it's, your man or, the family gatherings, we're having the holidays now, or children or old people. Do people look forward to having you around? Or is it like, oh God, here we go, this one right here. You know your reputation. You don't have to tell anybody, but ask yourself. Men look to their women to be the soft place for them to fall. We have a way of soothing the savage beast with our femininity. And I'm telling you, that is a priceless skill that, again, you can learn to master. One of the things that I do, if my man compliments something, I do more of it. And if he ever says, no, I don't really like that, it's never an issue. Don't even do it again. All right. So we talked about peace. We talked about tranquility, affection. Affection is really important, right? And affection doesn't just mean, the intimacy. It doesn't even mean the intimacy. Unfortunately, a lot of women, I don't know why y'all are going from 0 to all the way. Like you've missed like steps 1 through 99. Are you affectionate with him? Do you love on him? Do you hold hands, soft kisses, rub his head, scratch his back, peck on the cheek, anything, snuggle up, lay a blanket on him if he dozes off? Like all of the things, pick up his favorite treat or whatever. Do you do anything that says, you know what, I was thinking about you and I love you, or I saw you across the room and I just wanted to come over and tell you how handsome you look today? Anything. Do you know how to be an affectionate woman? That is a quality that never ages. It doesn't matter if you're 50 or 25, you can show affection. And the sad thing is, a lot of modern women have become so masculine. You move like a dude and you don't even know how to be an affectionate woman. That is very important to the girlfriend experience. All right. So again, that's going to require some humility. That's going to require you to get over yourself and be vulnerable and let him know, I get butterflies when you walk in the room. I love it. All right. Peace, tranquility, affection, respect. This is the number one. If you forget all things else, all other things, respect is paramount to a man, especially a high value man. Like there's respect and then there's everything else is a distant second or third. Okay. You will not disrespect a man. You will never come back from disrespecting a high value man. It ends right there. They're not even going to take that slick lip, that disrespect, embarrassing him, betraying his trust, not representing him well in public, correcting him, interrupting him. You all saw how Kevin would lose his mind if you talked over him. It's not going to fly. If that bothers you, if you think, well, you know better than me, fine. Find a man to get on your program. Find a man to be the wind beneath your wings. The high value men and men in general. And this is where a lot of women don't understand that Men fight a war every day. There's a dragon on the inside of them that they do a very good job of keeping contained. That is why we have this safe society that we live in this modern world. That is why we are not living through war and famine, because the men have agreed amongst themselves. They have a gentleman agreement that we're not just going to bop people over the head and drag them, into our land. We are going to live in a civilized society. We are going to have paved roads and electricity and running water and street lights, and you can call 911 and someone will come protect you. You can do foolish things and someone will save you from yourself. So that alone deserves our respect. And if you don't believe me or you think that's beneath you, then go build your own society and then come back and let us know how easy it was for you to do this thing called life without a man. All right. And then the fifth one is support. So peace, tranquility, affection, respect, and support. Ladies, when I say we need to be a support system to our men, that means that you need to have a system in place. One of the biggest mistakes that I see in women are just like, well, just tell me what to do. You don't know what to do, so you want the man to lay it out. No, he's looking at you, and it starts with your own life. Do you have a routine in place? Do you have repeatable processes? Do you meal prep? Do you grocery shop? Do you wait until you're out of all paper supplies and then you're trying to figure it out? Or do you do regular shopping or regular cleaning or any of those things? Men are looking for that type of consistency, because then they're saying, okay, I can put that into my life, or I can see her being a part of my life. Again, that's why just sitting there and looking cute is not going to help you. So when you are supportive to a man, you are bringing a skill set that is going to be useful to him. You can also be a support to him by believing in him, by encouraging him. If he's got a wild idea or wants to invest in something or wants to move, um, out of state or whatever, there's another opportunity. If you got a good man, you hitch your wagon to him and you hold on. Some of you all saw we just retired my parents to Ghana. My dad was the one who wanted to come to America for better opportunity, and my mom followed him. They were married and brought me and my brother and raised their children here. And now 2 grandchildren they've seen grow up. And after 50 years, they're going back home. Now, that's an extreme case, but I'm saying, ladies, if you got a good one, support that man, because those are the women that nail their position in his life when he's in the building phase. And those are the ones who reap the reward when he achieves. Too many women are like, I got to see it to believe it. And then it's too late, because then you're going to be the one chasing him. And he's like, yeah, well, where were you when I was, working that extra shift or going back to school or any of those things? All right. So make sure that you are supportive. If you have a good man, be a support system to him. All right. The first one, the most important one, he said, was respect and then affection. That should be easy, ladies. That's one of our natural gifts as a feminine woman. And then be peaceful. All right. Cut the chaos. So we talked about a lot tonight. We talked about making sure we show up as our authentic selves. Men like to see us without all that makeup, without being all done up. And he said something that really struck me. He said, being natural makes you different. And look, do what you want to do with your hair, your nails, your makeup, your lashes, all of that stuff. But it's not lost on me when you go get your hair done or you go to these makeup places. Have you noticed that everybody has the same look? It's almost like Attack of the Clones. There's like this one standard that, everybody's going to be chiseled this way and do all that. And there's nothing wrong with getting dolled up. But when you allow yourself to be more natural and your imperfections show, there's a beauty in that, because it makes you stand out and it makes you different and it makes you memorable for the right reasons, right? Everybody has the same sew-in. Everybody has the same lashes. Everybody has the same claw fingernails. To me, it's ridiculous, but do what you want to do. But if you're brave enough to say, you know what, no, I'm just going to let you see me, This is me. I think there's a beauty to that, a beauty that can't be bought. Ask your man, ask him what he likes, all right? So that's how we say we earn space in their world by daring to be more natural because it comes with a level of respect that men like, right? So we talked about the girlfriend experience, and Kevin said something to close this out. He said, I date women that I like in other rooms. So we all know the elephant in the room and what room he's talking about. But ask yourself, ladies, are you useful in any other room besides the bedroom? Are you useful in the kitchen? Are you useful in the living room? Are you useful in the study room? Are you useful anywhere? Or is it just that one thing that you have perfected and wondering why you're not in the position that you thought you would be? All right. Closing this out, Kevin said, this message is not offensive to the wives. Those of us who prioritize marriage and family, we're like, yes, give it to me. I want more. This is exactly what I need. So ask yourself, ladies, I know there's some women that are howling at the moon whenever I talk about Kevin Samuels, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I do not care. But if you hear this type of correction, this type of loving correction, and you're like, you know what, doggone it, yeah, I need to get better. I'm going to do better in 2026. I want that. I want, that rocking chair and that lemonade when I'm 50 years, old like Maggie. Mr. President is making plans for me, and we'll sail off into the sunset. That could be you. That could be you. But this started over 30 years ago. All right. So let me see what you all are saying in the chat, and then I'm going to hop because I have my Young Wives Club that I am hosting. Hello, Man of Steel on Instagram. Thank you all for hanging with me. I know this one was a long one, but again, I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher. You can find me, thank you, Smoo, on TikTok. I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher. I make food and femininity content. I created the Wives Club with Kevin Samuels in 2021, and I am determined to keep his legacy alive. Even though he's no longer with us, his message still lives on, and I just hope to bring perspective from an older woman with love in a way that maybe will be soft enough for you to receive it. All right. So Bria says, I agree. Women bring baggage from their previous relationships. Yeah, ladies, it's not helping us. Learn what happened and then move on. Yeah. And it says, you said it's unfair to the future men. Maybe unfair, but the men that we want, they're not going to take that on. They're just going to let you figure it out because they're like, what does that have to do with me? You did that. All right. So make sure you get yourself together because when that man is ready and you're not, that's some regret that you don't want. All right. Next level says, these women are invaluable. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a 10. They kill me with that. No, I'm not a 10. But I think it's helped me. I'm a late bloomer, and I'm not a head turner. You're not going to crane your neck when I walk in the room. But I think I win people over once you get to know me. But I've had to work on that, and I think it's been good for me to have to earn it, right? Yeah, we don't mind telling men their flaws, but God help us when we get some feedback. Take it from me. If it helps, I'm getting feedback all the time. Just sit down. Just always doing stuff. Just sit down. I love it. Yeah, that one was a mess. 50 something trying to wear heels, 3 strokes. Yeah, the wall is undefeated. And the wall comes for all of us. Winter comes for all of us, ladies. And the good thing is, we still want relationships if we're being honest with ourselves. I think it's just natural. That's how we're wired. And men want relationships too. And they're giving us first right of refusal. It's very rare that a woman says, no man ever tried to shoot his shot with me. I just been out here on my lonesome. Nobody's ever asked me out for anything. The opposite is true. Usually women that are especially my age and single, they had one that got away. Maybe 2 that got away because they thought they could do better. They thought they could do it on their timeline. I've heard it all. And then every year you're going to watch other people couple up and move on, have their families, do their traditions. And then you're going to be looking for people to go do stuff with. Everybody's going to be busy, living their own life as they should be. And to my married women and my women that are building relationships, you do not owe it to anybody to stop what you're building to go help your single friends. Do not do that. Let them figure it out on their own, right? Ark says, hallelujah. I'm glad this was helpful. Oh, I'm so glad you're natural now. Yeah, I hate do what y'all want to do, but I think it's messing up your hair. All right. Absolutely. Save the full makeup for special occasions. It means more. Maybe that's just me, but I think it stands out more when they get to see you all dolled up. It's like, wow, if you look like that every day, where do you have to go from there? All right. Hello, James. Oh, thank you all so much for being here. So many comments, but I'm going to let you all go because I am going to go support the Young Mothers Club. Oh, Bria says, what are the 5 again? So Kevin's 5 things for 2026. All right. If you're not where you want to be, number 1 is peace. Number 2 is tranquility. Number 3 is affection. Number 4 is respect. And number 5 is support. But in order of importance, respect is number 1, affection is number 2, and peace is number 3, as per Kevin. All right. Oh, I'm glad this was helpful. Oh, thank you all so much. The Young Wives Club, I'm going to combine it next year. You can inbox me if you're interested. I have free monthly sessions. I had wives which were married, engaged, or saving themselves for marriage under 30, or married mothers under 35 with children, like young children. I do a lesson for them, and then it's basically a space where they can ask me questions, and I provide free support. Next year, we're going to have like a Maggie's Wife School. I'm going to do the wives and married mothers together because Mr. President has asked me to pump the brakes a little bit. All right, I've been doing a lot. Oh, thank you. I'm glad this is helpful. That's okay, Rebecca. You can watch the replay. Young Mothers Club, I do it online. It's not a Zoom. I have a private link. If you inbox me, and you're interested, then I will send you the link. Peace, tranquility, respect, affection, and support. Okay? All right, everybody. I'm going to love you and leave you here. I will be back, I guess, in the new year. So Merry Christmas if you celebrate. And I'm usually here with you all when Kevin's channel posts new content. And yeah, I'll see you all in January. All right, so stay tuned. Yeah, you can inbox me, Maggie the Substitute Teacher at gmail.com. Yeah, or TikTok or Instagram. So Maggie the Substitute Teacher at gmail.com. If you're interested, Bria, just let me know, or Victoria. All right, y'all. I'm going to let you go because my ladies are waiting. And yeah, tonight's topic is going to be keeping score. We don't want to do that. All right, everybody. And thank you. Thank you for the donation. I forgot. Thank you again to €5. Bye, everyone.